Lake monster stories have been told for a long time, and Loch Ness is probably the most famous one. But Ogopogo is another lake monster said to live in Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, Canada. The First Nations people, who lived in the area long before settlers came to America and Canada, have been telling stories about Ogopogo for centuries. This makes Ogopogo's history much older than many other lake monster legends. And now there's this video. It might be the most convincing proof I've ever seen of Ogopogo. Enjoy.
We've had multiple sightings here of 2 or 3 Ogopogo in Lake Okanagan. Perhaps there's more than one.
A creature that local tribes have known about and feared for centuries.
Ogopogo is the English word for Nkakait. It means the sacred one of the water.
A creature that local tribes have known about and feared for centuries.
This experience has had a huge impact on our family. My son won't go swimming past the sandbar anymore, and I definitely am not going in the water.
The first thought is, what is that? And then the second thought is that kid in danger?
Canada holds over 20% of the world's fresh water. In British Columbia alone, there are more than 20,000 lakes. On June 1st, 2019, during a hot summer day, store owner Jim LaRock and his family went to the lake.
Yeah, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 38 degrees out, Celsius. The water was like glass.
Jim's son was paddleboarding when something terrifying came out of the water.
All of a sudden, I just heard the swooshing sound of something, and I thought my son was just on his paddleboard, and something went right behind him.
A massive, threatening shape was in the water just a few feet away.
Eventually, my son turns, and he actually sees a flipper come out of the water and smash down in the water. And of course, he starts booking it back on his paddleboard. Yeah.
His son barely escaped, but Jim will never forget seeing the creature, which he guessed was about 120 feet long.
The underside of it was like white, and then the outside was dark.
Scientists have no explanation for what Jim saw.
It's like 1, 2, 3, like 7 fins, and you could see something coming right up out of the water. I mean, it's so flat. There's no way this is the wind or a log.
The first thought is, what is that? And then the second thought is that kid in danger?
This huge lake, 80 miles long, formed during the Ice Age. The Sayux people, the first known inhabitants, lived along its shores for thousands of years. Their descendants, the West Bank First Nation, have long shared stories of a giant creature living in the lake.
Ogopogo exists in our stories, and we have a word for him. If he wasn't real and he didn't exist, we wouldn't have a word for him. We call it Nkakait. It means the sacred one of the water.
They believe Nkakait is no ordinary animal, but a kind of animal god.
Because he's so sacred, he doesn't show himself to just anybody. When you see things from another realm, it's a blessing.
Local historian Bill Stachik thinks the creature is a real animal that science hasn't discovered yet.
When I first moved to Kelowna a number of years ago, I was pretty skeptical about something being in the lake. But I had a sighting off the bridge in 1978.
He took a photograph of what he believes is the creature's head.
It was taken at 130 meters. Looking at it, you can actually see an eye and you can see the mouth here. It was ironic all the time I've spent on boats that here I'm sitting on my patio and I get a picture. We believe it is a predator. We believe that it feeds on fish. There's even been sightings that it could take a duck from the top of the water.
Local scientist Raphael Naue, who grew up near the lake, is determined to find out what's hiding in its depths.
I've had a natural curiosity for wanting to explore and learn more about Okanagan Lake, especially because of its immense size and the fact that it has never been fully explored. And along with that, obviously, comes the topic of Ogopogo.
He's going to a spot where many sightings have been reported.
Okay, so we're here at Squally Point, where there are several underwater cave formations known to exist. So we're going to take a look at those and see this is one of the habitat that Ogopogo may live in.
Now it sends out a remotely operated underwater vehicle. Here we go, he says, ready to explore the lake's cave-like formations.
Just approaching what looks like a cave feature here. So this is a potential habitat a large creature or an unknown creature may be able to hide in. A few years ago, I was doing an underwater investigation and I came across some interesting formations on the bottom sediment which looked like a pattern of footprints. The footprints suggest that there may be an ambush predator that may walk along the lake floor and then push off, creating those indentations in the lake sediment.
Large footprints on the lake floor look strange, but similar giant dinosaur footprints have been found in the mountains of Morrison, Colorado, where a prehistoric sea once existed.
Scientists are still discovering on a yearly basis new species on the planet that have not been known about before, and I'm just open to exploring this mystery.
Coming up, could these lake monsters be Jurassic survivors?
They've been around since before the dinosaurs. They look like they belong with the dinosaurs.
And in a Chinese hospital, what does this man just put down?
Looks like a huge white egg. So where in the world did that come from?
In a lake in the Canadian wilderness, a boy escapes from a giant water creature. Marine biologist Eric Hovland looks at the footage and thinks of a Jurassic reptile called a plesiosaur and of Scotland's Loch Ness monster.
Nessie comes to mind right away. Was that a plesiosaur that lives in Loch Ness? Is there something similar in this lake?
Fierce plesiosaurs ruled Earth's waters 65 million years ago. Some believe Nessie is a plesiosaur whose ancestors came into the loch from the sea.
However, recent science and discoveries have shown us that perhaps it isn't a plesiosaur.
Scientists have been studying the DNA that they've collected from Loch Ness to find out what animals are living beneath the surface.
Researchers from New Zealand studied DNA in Loch Ness. They found something surprising.
They did find a lot of eel DNA.
The oldest eels lived over 100 million years ago, when huge predators roamed the seas. Eels evolved into over 800 species, some very large.
Some of those eels can grow close to 30 feet long. That could easily be mistaken for a monster.
But the creature Jim filmed in Canada is far bigger than any known eel. Marine biologist Danny Washington wonders if it could be another type of Canadian lake monster.
There have been a lot of eyewitness reports of eel-like fishes swimming through Canadian lakes, but what they're seeing might be a sturgeon. Lake sturgeon can grow to be quite large. These animals can easily be confused for a monster swimming through a lake.
When swimming, a sturgeon's stiff back often sticks out of the water, just like in the video.
There have been some massive sturgeons discovered. For example, in China, they found a sturgeon that was half a ton. That's 1,000 pounds.
But no sturgeon has ever come close to 120 feet long.
That's about the size of 5 sturgeons lined up all together.
Whatever this monster is, some locals now refuse to go in the water.
Well, this experience has had a huge impact on our family. My son won't go swimming past the sandbar anymore, and I definitely am not going in the water.
People are still continuing to report sightings. Just last year, there were 3 sightings in 3 weeks.
Until we get a carcass or some DNA samples, we're not going to know exactly what it is.
In my view, the video shows something is or was out there. I can't say exactly what it is, but it seems more than just a big fish or some otters. If you watch closely, you can see flippers coming out of the water as it swims. I don't think it has spiritual powers, but I do think it could be an undiscovered aquatic creature. We find new animals in oceans and lakes all the time.